All right. You guys ready to party? You ready to party like it's 1999 BC? So that's what they say. All right, we're going to have fun today. Well, I wanted to, who here has seen Hidden in the Heartland before? Okay. Who has not seen Hidden in the Heartland? Yes. Okay. I just want to kind of give you a little bit of my background about who am I. Kels who? That's what a lot of people ask, and which is okay. I am not offended by that. There's me. I grew up on near an island, which is south in South Texas, called South Padre Island, and it's that's me many years ago, and I'm a beach bum, and I grew up enjoying film. And so so South Padre Island, if you don't know where that is, that's at the very southernmost tip of all of Texas. In fact, there's one little strip of land between the island and Mexico, and that is owned by Elon Musk. And that's where he shoots off his test rockets. That's where SpaceX is. So that's about it. So that's as far south as you could probably get in the whole United States. So I grew up as a fan of film, and we moved to Texas in the 70s, and Star Wars had come out when I was 10 years old, and so thus there's a lot of filmmakers who are my age who were into filmmaking because of Star Wars. And so obviously I went to BYU and I went and studied film there throughout the 80s and throughout the 90s. I was able to work on a lot of productions, Hollywood productions that came to Utah, Touched by an Angel, Dumb and Dumber, Halloween, which I'm real proud of that one, and anything else that came through, and I just, that's Hollywood for you. But around 2000, I stopped working on Hollywood productions, and as the LDS film explosion kind of started around 2000 with the film God's Army, a lot of us kind of got together and said, ooh, I got a story too that I want to be able to tell. And so here's a series of some of the films I've done. You can actually go to my website. I don't have a table, or I don't have a sales table or anything to sell, but you can see some of the work that I've done over the years. You can go to kelsgoodman.com and you can see a lot of it, linked to it, or there might be some like DVDs or anything like that available on there. I was able to produce some comedies and some documentaries, and so comedy is kind of my background. I love doing comedy. And then I worked for Blendtec. If anybody has ever heard of that company in Orem, I went and did all of their comedy videos that we did on YouTube that made Blendtec famous by blending a show called Will It Blend, which was the blender that could blend anything in iPhones and rake handles, and you name it, we blended it. And so that was my background. So I spent 10 years working for Blendtec, and I met Rod Meldrum, and he introduced me to this Heartland theory of the Book of Mormon, and Rod actually had a 4-hour DVD, one of his short ones. So I was sick one day, and I was actually able to sit down and watch for 4 hours his presentation, and I watched it twice, and I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is very important information. And my kids would walk by my bedroom and go, Dad, what are you doing in there? What are you watching that's so important? And I said, you got to see, this is really important information. But they couldn't comprehend it. For some reason, all of the talks and the slideshows, while they were important to me, the kids weren't understanding it. They weren't understanding why it was so important. And I knew, after I was introduced to the Heartland model of the Book of Mormon, that I wanted to give some of my time to be able to make the hard to understand elements more understandable. And so So I decided to do this series called Hidden in the Heartland, and each of the episodes, it was originally just a single movie, documentary on the Heartland movement, and then there was so much material. It just went on and on. I thought this has to be a series, but I've never done a series before. I've always just done single movies. And so I decided to give some of my time and talents and finances, and we produced it. And we did a small Kickstarter where we were able to raise a little money, but I had to finance the bulk of it. And each episode that we did, we tried to have a dramatic reenactment of some type. And we reenacted, well, here, I'll show you. We talked, this is what our first season was. We just did 6 episodes. We featured the Hopewell. We talked about Zelf's Mound. For those of you who've never heard of Zelf's Mound, Wayne talked a little bit about it yesterday, and we were the first people that, at least I can find, actually reenacted Zelf's Mound, where Joseph Smith climbed up with Zion's Camp and uncovered the bones of Zelf. So we actually reenacted it. We also talk about the origin of the Mesoamerican model of the Book of Mormon, where it actually came from. Manifest Destiny, which we featured Steve Smoot, who spoke yesterday. We talked about elements of Hebrew in America, the Great Earthquake of 1811 and 1812, and the American Covenant. And we had Tim Ballard, which was wonderful. In season 2, we did some other elements where we talked about the Kinderhook plates and the crossing of the seas, where we featured the Phoenicia ship, and we had Philip Beale on our show. We also talked about archaeoastronomy, which is really interesting. We're going to talk about archaeoastronomy in just a minute, and also the Hill Cumorah. The show right now, you can actually find the show on Amazon if you've got Amazon, and I posted on here the stars. We actually have had 4.5 stars. It's really been a high-rated show. People have really enjoyed the show, and have used a lot of the footage for other programs. And so, season 1 and season 2, we've had really good reviews, and really have enjoyed our time studying the Heartland model and trying to put it into an entertaining fashion. Living Scriptures is a place where you can see Hidden in the Heartland right now. So if you have a Living Scriptures subscription, you can see all the episodes there. And then recently I started a YouTube channel. I've actually had the YouTube channel for quite a while, and in the channel I decided to put all the episodes on the YouTube channel and then a bunch of extra material. And so if you guys are can get onto YouTube and you want to just have an easy watch of the series, it's under the channel that's under my name, Kels Goodman, and you'll see Tier 2 Media, which is the company that I operate under, and you'll be able to watch all of those episodes. Now, my YouTube channel has a little bit of everything in it because it's my YouTube channel. I have a lot of things from the Blend Tech videos, Will It Blend. I have some other comedy pieces that I've put on there, so you can kind of see everything I've done. But the Heartland material has been what's been going on and has been actually doing very well. And so we've been enjoying all of the views on the channel. And so it's been good. So thus, that's where we are with Hidden in the Heartland. It's actually been about 5 years since I've actually spoken at any Heartland convention, because for about 5 years, I actually bought a film festival. So I bought the LDS Film Festival, and I ran it, and then I made a couple of movies. And so I kind of got busy and did some other things, and now we're kind of at a position right now with information being the way it is online, that we felt like it was important to go ahead and start on a 3rd season. And with this 3rd season, one of the things we are asking as a production is to be able to get any help with this 3rd season. And what I wanted to do was kind of go into a taste of what the next season would be like, and that way you can kind of feel the way we do the information on the show. Almost nobody on the program is LDS. Everybody is either an archaeologist or a historian or an explorer or somebody who's found something, and it's our goal to simply take it and give a maybe, kind of, sort of, it could sort of connect to the Book of Mormon. And in a lot of cases, that's as far as we can go, because we work really hard to not really put a placement on things on the show. We try really hard to give it out and let you, the viewer, decide. And sometimes when we do that, it actually brings a lot of interest for people who may not be LDS. And I think we all can kind of tell that when we have received that seed of something, when our conversion to the Book of Mormon, when we've been converted, it's usually in some form or fashion, whether it be a movie we saw, or whether it be a talk somebody gave, or whether it be a scripture verse that we read, or something. And I look at the Heartland research as just another one of those tools that's used to be able to help people to just, get their heart touched, not to convert them through Heartland material. Because archaeology and all that kind of stuff is one thing, but the spirit is another. And in Hidden in the Heartland, we're not there to give you, to be converted from Hidden in the Heartland. We're there to just give you some fun information, and then you decide for yourself if if this is something that you find interesting. And then hopefully it'll be a stream for those who may be struggling with their testimony in the Book of Mormon. But I'm here to make sure that we're clear that I do not base my testimony off of any archaeological research at all, and neither should any of us. So that's just something to be thinking about when it comes to this research. So I want to give you just one example of this next season that we're doing, and all of the material that we're trying to cover. And here's an example of one of it. It's a lot of little writing, so I'm just going to read it. This is Ether 9. Okay, so we know in Ether took place about 4,000 years ago, correct? I mean, it's about 2200 BC, maybe give or take, and lasted right up until the Nephites and the Lamanites and the others were able to meet together during that period. And so the dates are not perfect throughout the Jaredite time frame, except we do know a little bit about where it began with the Great Tower. But in the middle, in Ether 9, it says, on verse 3, "And the Lord warned Omer, who was a king at this time, who was overthrown, in a dream that he should depart out of the land, wherever this land is." Okay? "Wherefore Omer departed out of the land with his family and traveled many days," however those many days are, "and came over and passed by the hill of Shem," which I think most of us kind of know where the hill Shem is, "and came over by the place where the Nephites were destroyed." I think we really know where that is, where the Nephites were destroyed. "And from thence eastward, and came to a place which was called Ablom, by the seashore, and there he pitched his tent, and also his sons and his daughters, and all his household, save it were Jared and his family." So what I've done here is I've taken the Hill Cumorah, which we know, I'm kind of baffled that we're even having this discussion about any other hills. That just kind of blows me away, that there's another hill, or there's, as Wayne talked about yesterday, multiple hills, 1 hill, 2 hill, 3 hills. I remember when I first heard that concept of Hill Cumorah in New York not being the Hill Cumorah, I remember thinking, okay, I better do my research. I better find out if this is true, or if there's any seed of something. And I dug and I dug and I dug, and I could not find any reference or anything besides the guys at BYU or wherever else that had said there's any other hill. In fact, I found more reference to people throughout the 20s and the 30s and the 40s saying, what is this new thinking of this second hill? Where is that coming from? And it's amazing that to this day, that's still a point of discussion. So enough of that. The Hill Cumorah is where this was. And so what I'm trying to show you is here's one piece of evidence that you can at least go off of. And of course, once again, we're not going to know exactly where some of these things are. I just want to give you some pieces that are out there. In Ether 9, verse 9, it says, "And it came to pass that Nimrod gathered together a small number of men and fled out of the land and came over and dwelt with Omer." So there's Omer and his family at this place called Ablom, which is near a sea. And not only that, but Nimrod joined them. So numerous people came over to this place called Ablom and hung out with Omer. Verse 12, "And there began to be a war between the sons of Achish and Achish, which lasted for the space of many years, yea, until the destruction of nearly all the people of the kingdom, yea, even all, save it were 30 souls, and they who fled with Omer. Wherefore Omer was restored again to the land of his inheritance." So the point I'm getting at is we can almost think about where Ablom would be, and some of the elements that you, from reading the actual text, is that Omer went east from the Hill Cumorah to a sea. Okay, and because he went east to a sea, that gives us some geological hint as to where there could be. And not only did he go to a sea, but he was there for quite a while. We don't know how long. It could have been decades. It could have just been a few years. But it was a long time, because while Omer was away from wherever it was he lived and passed by the Hill Cumorah and worked his way to the sea, he was there for a while, which means he would have settled something. So here's one little hint, just one little hint to be able to bring us to where could this Ablom be. And so here's the state of New York. Sorry, my mouth is really dry. Must be because of my jokes. They're all dry, so pretty bad. Okay, so here's New York, and there's the Hill Cumorah. If you can see that red dot, there's a red dot there that shows you where Hill Cumorah is. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. So here's Hill Cumorah right here, and so one of the thoughts is, okay, if they went many days away from the Hill Cumorah to the sea east, where is that sea? What could that be? And there's several options. If you walk from Palmyra to New York City, Omer and his family could have gone there to catch a Broadway show. They could have gone to get some of that pizza that's really awesome, or they could have settled. And chances are they probably had some kind of settling there and built something. I doubt they lived in a tent the whole time, but maybe, I don't know. Again, these are just questions to ask. It takes about 12 days, 10 to 12 days to walk from Palmyra to New York City. So if you were to, I haven't made the walk, but I did go on that pioneer, that trek they did 25 years ago where they walked from Omaha, Nebraska to Salt Lake City. I walked it and I carried a camera the whole time. And that took us, we averaged about 20 miles a day. And that's with wagons and horses. Obviously, if you didn't have wagons and horses, you could probably go a little quicker. So I probably kicked it up to about 30 miles a day. You could probably walk with a group. And so if you did that, that means this would have taken 10 to 12 days, which would have still been many. But who knows? It's hard to tell. So here's one option where he probably could have been. He could have gone all the way over here to Rhode Island. He could have gone to Boston. And so who knows where they could have gone. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to showcase to you a few options of sites that are actually out there that show places that you can actually go see that are old, that are ancient. Because to me, that's an important way of being able to piece together who lived here long before Columbus, because that's the very important, that's the whole gist of Hidden in the Heartland, is who lived here long before Columbus, and where is the evidence? Where's the material? And so here's the first one. The first one is called Burnt Hill. And Burnt Hill, while it's not all the way to the sea, it's one candidate of a place that people have stopped at. And Burnt Hill. So here's a picture of Burnt Hill. And here's a little bit of information. This is Burnt Hill, which is in Heath, Massachusetts. Burnt Hill is next to a blueberry farm, first thought to be made by 19th century farmers as property markers, but now Burnt Hill is believed to be is considerably older, possibly an observatory. Stones appear to align with the sun, the sunrise and the sunsets. Some think they were placed around 1750 by reading military diaries of the time. Others think that they're older. And so this is one option, and you'll see a lot of these, and this is what's called archaeoastronomy. Now, archaeoastronomy is being able to take a structure that's in the ground and align it with the sun and the moon and the stars. Who here has ever heard of Serpent's Mound? The Serpent's Mound is a great example of archaeoastronomy. We feature it in our second season of Hidden in the Heartland. We'd like to go back and do a little more research on Serpent's Mound, but there's many places where archaeoastronomy is utilized in an effort to have a place where your clock is always ticking. See, we're pretty lucky as we can just pull out our devices, and every one of us pretty much has the same time. Somebody somewhere has made that official. So we all know that it's 2:09 Mountain Standard Time because somewhere there's a heart of some place that has made our time and our dates official. So when people build an observatory, that becomes sort of in that area the official place where you know when the sun rises, oh, it's June 21st or whatever. You know, there's equinoxes and things like that. So that's what I kind of go into. But so this is a possible observatory. One sad thing about Burnt Hill is that nobody's allowed on it. And so you only get these shots from far away. So the owner of the land is not keen on people coming and hanging out, which is too bad. American Stonehenge. Who's heard of American Stonehenge? Oh, you got to go visit American Stonehenge. American Stonehenge is a cool place. We want to go there with our cameras ablazing and go talk to the owners of American Stonehenge. And you see on the dot, you see how it's getting closer to the sea. While it's not at the sea, it's kind of getting closer. So it's obviously a place that Jaredites have roamed, and maybe Nephites and others. And so American Stonehenge, I want to give you a little background about American Stonehenge. It's in Salem, New Hampshire. And American Stonehenge is currently owned by a family. Check this out. Their last name is Stone. Isn't that cool? So the Stone family, and I've been messaging Brother Stone or Mr. Stone. I call him Brother Stone as a joke, but about going over there and visiting. And we were actually supposed to go right before COVID, and then when COVID hit, getting through New York would have been impossible, and we just never went. Archaeologists actually radiocarbon date this place by dating an analysis on charcoal, which shows this site was occupied 4,000 years ago. So there's a little bit of a time frame right there. You can see a little bit of a structure there. There's a sign. So this is a place you can go and visit. I mean, you have to pay and visit, but it's not much. You can just pay and you can go and visit the site, but it's really amazing. And I'm going to show you a few things that are on this site. And the reason why it's called American Stonehenge is, again, it's got some kind of place where it's like a calendar. So here's a little bit of an example. So here's an example of a chamber. There's a few chambers that are found on the site, meaning a little room that was built and with an observatory that aligns with the sun. So you can see that piece of rock on the picture on the right, and it's got sun beaming behind it. If you've ever seen the TV show America Unearthed, America Reveal is the comedy piece that we were making fun of. But America Unearthed, the History Channel show, Scott Walter said that one way of knowing how old that a place is that the alignment with the sun is off by a few degrees, which means the earth has shifted slightly over time. And that was one of the things they pointed out. So if you look at the sun on, for example, June 21st or December 21st or one of the equinoxes, and if you see where it's supposed to be, the sun is actually off by a few degrees, which means while it's not exact, it has been there for a long time because the earth hasn't wound up its clock, so to speak, which means through time the axis of the earth changes over several thousands of years. So that's one hint as to how old this site could be and why there's one between that and the charcoal, they kind of estimate this site being about 4,000 years old. Here's another kind of hint. This is a sacrificial table. So you can see that's a stone table, and the way you know it is because there's a groove all around it. And so people have either cut up animals on that thing or maybe humans, who knows. And the groove on the side is when somebody does the killing, the blood and the elements go around the sides and go down in the bottom. And so other sacrificial tables that we have seen in other places have that's sort of a sign of that place. Anyway, and this is another thing. This was a stone that was found. It's hard to see, I'm sure, but this was a stone found on the site. There's actually several stones found on the site. And some of the stones have writing on them that are written in Ogam. And Ogam is an early medieval alphabet that is usually around 100 BC, maybe older. And you can learn about Ogam in this book, America BC. I highly recommend you finding a copy if you're serious about Book of Mormon archaeology in America. I highly recommend you get a book, America BC, by Barry Fell. When I've met other people, other archaeologists and others, historians and enthusiasts, they'll always point to this book as sort of the first go-to. There are many other books, and when you watch Hidden in the Heartland, we'll reference a lot of those other books, but books written by non-LDS scholars who will show you, the elements of who was here long before Columbus. And so in America BC, he talks a lot about this Ogam writing and how you can find it. They're usually lines. So this one actually has a translation, but I don't remember what the translation is. But it's reference to the god Baal. So there's some hints there for you. Okay, now let's go to one more thing that I wanted to go into, and this is the Hill Cumorah. And this is why I'm going to make this connection with the rest of this specific segment. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that, and maybe and I handle this one with very careful discussion because I don't have all the information. So take what you're getting from me and do your own study, continue your own study elsewhere. But this is definitely something interesting. There's a gentleman named Cameron Packer. Cameron Packer is a descendant of Willard Bean. And Willard Bean, obviously you know Willard Bean as the fighting preacher. But in this book, this is a paper from BYU, ironically. And this is called Cumorah's Cave. And it's actually 10 references to church history writings where somebody mentions walking into the Hill Cumorah, not just the hole that held the plates, but a separate hole somewhere else in the Hill Cumorah. And there were many, I've heard Cleon Skousen talk about it in his classes in the past, and it's definitely something worth researching. Again, I'm not the authority on it, so don't go to me to get any more information than what I'm going to give you today. But the cave was definitely a point of discussion where people actually walked in and found many plates and tables of plates and swords and all kinds of artifacts that were inside on a different part of the Hill Cumorah, which is fascinating. And so this research paper actually just goes into the 10 references that people gave about walking into the Hill Cumorah. These are actual pictures from a friend of ours who I won't really talk about because he's very skittish about, talking about this topic. But one day, somebody's kid fell into this hole during the Hill Cumorah pageant about 20-some years ago and took some pictures. And this is actually in the back side of the Hill Cumorah. And I zoom into this one because you can see there's an actual, it looks man-made. It looks like there's an actual structure full of rock that's in the back side. And hopefully you can see it. So it looks like it might be a little, it's hard to see here, but it's not hard to find. You can find it online. And we'll also probably talk about it in this next season of Hidden in the Heartland. And as you can see, the little structures in there, this takes us to where the other spot I wanted to give as a possibility of Ablom. And so I'm going to take us away from here, and let's go to the county known as Putnam County. So Putnam County, this is a fascinating place. You can see the red dot right over the letter C, and it's kind of near New York City. And Putnam County has something very interesting that some research that we, again, before COVID, we wanted to go to Putnam County and go do the research there, and we couldn't, because going in and out of that state would have been ridiculous. And so here's an example. Here, there are stone chambers all throughout Putnam County, New York. And I'm going to show you some samples of them right here. So here's one. So there's roughly 100 to 200 of these chambers in and around Putnam County, New York. And what's interesting about these, some have said that this is the work of 18th century farmers who used them to store food, which they could have used. The farmers could have used these chambers for food. But one man from the New England Antiquities Research Association asked the question, why would anybody go to such great lengths for storing spaces? You would only see these for religious purposes. One of the other issues with seeing these chambers is there was historically, there weren't really any farms near a lot of these chambers. So if there was no farming near them, what would they have hauled them in for? Many of these chambers are also known to be aligned with the equinox and solstice sunrises. So there's definitely a mystery behind them. One thing is for sure, no one claims them, not even the Native Americans. They don't even claim these chambers. And locally, there is actually no effort to preserve these chambers. In fact, some of them, you can actually just go, I think this one right here, if I remember right, that one is like across the street from a Kmart or something like that. Like you can just walk over there and just walk on in and nobody cares, unless it's somebody's personal property, obviously. Then you want to be careful. You don't want to just start walking in. But a lot of people have sort of wondered what is the mystery behind these chambers. There's numerous articles where people talking about them and not having any answers. So and like I said, even Native Americans don't even claim these chambers. And so they're going to continue to probably just die away or get mulled over if they're in the way of some building. but there's about 1 to 200 of them throughout Putnam County. So in my personal opinion, they seem very similar to that stone, that hole, that cave in Cumorah, that there's a similar building to those. And one of our goals in this next season of Hidden in the Heartland is to be able to go and research and find some experts that can give us a little more information, because we honestly don't have all of the information on it. And we may never make a full decision, but could this be an example of where Ablom is? You know, Ablom was already, when you read the text, it looks like, at least from my understanding, Ablom was a place that already existed when Omer and his family got there. So there was already some kind of settlement somewhere on this east side of New York. So season 3, these are some of the topics that we find are very important and actually can really give us some good hints, again, to continue the study of who lived in America long before Columbus, and is there any connection, possibility, to the Book of Mormon. For me, I start with the Hill Cumorah and I work my way back. So right now I'm reading my scripture, I'm starting over in the Book of Mormon again, and I just finished again where I bought one of those big books of Mormon, and I just marked it all up with anything that showed the Hill Cumorah or east or west or any kind of hint, and I'm trying really hard to go straight to the text to find out what do we know in the Book of Mormon that might give us some kind of hint as to where everything is. And chances are great that we may never find where most of these places are until the millennium, or who knows when. Season 3 topics, again, we're not going to probably do all of these, but these are topics we're looking at covering. Putnam County Chambers, Poverty Point, Louisiana. If anybody's ever been to Poverty Point, it's a great place to go visit. Who lived in Poverty Point? It's an amazing site. Cahokia, a lot of you have probably been to Cahokia. American Stonehenge. We want to study copper culture. Isle Royale in Michigan is one of the heaviest places of copper. And there's a lot of evidence of people going there many years ago, long before Columbus, of people going to Isle Royale, getting the copper and taking it to wherever, even to the Middle East and everywhere else. It's the heaviest, densest place of copper in the whole world, is Isle Royale. It's a little island in one of the lakes in Michigan, off Michigan. Moundsville, Alabama. The Kensington Runestone, that's one of the famous ones that from the TV show America Unearthed, where Scott Walter talks about the Kensington Runestone. Maps used by Columbus. What maps did he use to go? There's a lot of evidence that some of the early maps actually had details of the United States and South America. And methods of dating. Okay, that's not a lifestyle episode. That's not about how you meet girls or anything like that. That's actual dating of items, because we date in many ways. A lot of times dating happens by finding elements on a piece of land, and those elements are, oh, well, this looks like a Hopewell thing, so we automatically just put a date on it. And other ways of dating is being able to do a carbon dating, carbon-14 dating, which is sometimes hard to get to. I question a lot of dating, I admit it. I'm a guy that questions everything, and I'm happy to be wrong about the things that I research. I'm totally happy to be wrong as long as there's evidence to the contrary. But even when you're doing any kind of archaeological research or any kind of research, historical, always do it with a subjective mind. Always be ready to be wrong. Always be ready to be able to change your thoughts. All right, I'm gonna end today because these are what we would like to cover this fall, and we'd like to try to produce another season. The first 2 seasons, we raised a little money, but most of it came out of my pocket. So this is my plea to you guys, if you have a chance, is we are trying to raise funds for season 3 of Hidden in the Heartland. In each episode, like I said, we provide we do dramatic reenactments, and that's actually what costs the most. And we also have to travel a little bit to get to these places. So we've set up a Give, Send, Go. And this is, it's kind of ironic because Give, Send, Go is a Christian-based, I don't know if you remember when the truckers were having their problems up in Canada, and they had that other fund site that were helping them. And then when the truckers got in trouble during COVID, they got their money pulled. Well, Give, Send, Go kicked in and helped out the truckers, and they kind of showed their self-worth. And they're meant to be, a good Christian group. And so I'm excited to utilize a Christian platform to provide evidence of the Book of Mormon. Kind of ironic, don't you think? So anyway, but great ways of being able to share the gospel, even if we're just doing some fun archaeology. So I'm going to leave that up there for now, givesendgo.com, and then Hidden in the Heartland 3. If you want to know more, kelsgoodman.com. I'm easy to find. My email is kelsgoodman@gmail.com. And my name, Kels, is just one letter, one L. And if you want to talk to me or anything, we're looking for about $20,000 right now is what we're trying to raise, and to be able to produce this whole next season. And so if anybody has any money they just want to get rid of, hey, just let me know, and I got a place for you. And anyway, so I just wanted to thank you guys. I'm very happy to see Wayne doing this conference. Like I said, I haven't spoken in 5 years, and when Wayne said he was going to be doing this conference, I was very excited and was willing to join in because Wayne is one of my good friends. He's a good guy with a good heart, along with all of the other speakers, Steve Smoot and Hannah Stoddard and Amberly. I love them. They've all been in my show in one form or another, or we've worked together, and I hope we continue to work together. And I also want to tell you that the Book of Mormon is very important today. As I just finished it again, I literally woke up to the idea that, oh my gosh, this is our day. No wonder it's so important. And everywhere I go, I hear how important the Book of Mormon is. I was just put in the bishopric a few months ago, and my first sacrament meeting that I conducted, a general authority showed up, which was great. No pressure, having a general authority while I conduct. And he said, come follow me is very important, and you want to study those scriptures. But he did say, we can't forget that we've got to keep our heads in the Book of Mormon. And so that's my charge to each of you guys. And thank you so much for your time and coming out and support us with Hidden in the Heartland. So thank you very much.